Well, what are we up to today? Well, we're working on the ambulance again, and it's going to be electronics, and we're going to be working in the bay here, which is directly above the battery box. You'll probably see different episodes or previous videos of mine rather on this channel that will detail what I've already done here. Yes, it's a bit messy in there, but it was worse when we started. Today, however, we're going to be installing some solar panels and solar regulator, although the panels will probably come in a different video. They are massive. I'll show you them in a moment. I've got the problem of working out where to fit this guy. Currently, he fits exactly in that gap with no room for the terminals. Now, it would fit really nicely here, but I have to pull that plate off, separate that from the plate, move my 24 to 12 volt regulator over here, unbolt my inverter, all sorts of stuff I don't want to do. So I reckon I can probably get away with just moving this guy over and putting this guy up in the gap, albeit sideways, which is a little bit counterproductive as far as the heatsink goes, but I think we can work with that. I'm going to remove this cover here, which covers up one of the suction lines. You can get right in there and have a look and see if I can disconnect the suction line and move everything over. But let's go have a look at the size of the panels I plan to put on the roof. Alright, so hiding around here beside the bench seats out of the old 4x4, we have two panels here, and they are 290 watt panels. They are massive, and they're going to take up pretty well every inch of available space on the roof. They're considerably bigger than I had anticipated, so that's going to be tricky. We're going to have to make up a whole frame and do some modification and stuff to fit them on there. We may even have to remove air conditioning unit before we can get them on there. But anyway, that's an afterthought. We've got to get the regulator in first and get all that wired in first. Alright, so this stainless steel cover has been removed, and we can see here there's a brass line in there. So I reckon we can probably undo this fitting, and we can probably remove that suction line fitting entirely, and that'll clear up a little bit of room. It's unlikely that we're going to use suction in this. The other end of it is of course down here. So yeah, I think it's probably safe for us to remove that suction line almost entirely. In fact, if I can be gentle, I might get a zip disc in here and actually nick that bit of copper line off entirely. I think that's probably going to be, well, probably not the more sensible way, but probably the easier way. Yep, I think I'll do that. Let's clear everything out of this box. Alright, now to go inside. Alrighty, we're out. Now we can move stuff. Okay, so that's our charger shifted over. Let's see if we've got enough room. Alright, actually, we have enough room now to put this the correct way up. That's nice. That means the heat shrink should work properly. So I'm going to need two hands to mount this, and I haven't got a tripod that'll fit in here. So we're going to do this a little bit off camera. Alright, our regulator is mounted. We can get to all this stuff and see that, and we can still access all of that stuff, and I can read the panel relatively okay. I can still read what this guy is doing, and if I put an acrylic window in here like I'm planning on doing, I can still see it through the acrylic window. At some point I need to pull out the Lucas style banana plug connector here and put a standard one in there, and I might replace this Merit plug socket with a new Merit plug socket, or a Merit socket, and I'll put a few lighter plugs and some USB stuff in there, and that should sort that out. I might build this guy in as well. So we're getting there. Now I've got to wait till after the Christmas break, because it's Boxing Day today, to get some more of this big fat wire, but I'm going to put a couple of bus bars probably up in here or under here maybe, and so that I can manage everything. But I think we should be right. I think these guys are going to be probably plenty thick enough to do what I need, so that'll be good. I'm probably going to use one pair of these from the battery, put a big fat fuse on this at the battery, and run a Merit plug, run an Anderson plug into my bus bars, and then hook everything up to that. Might simplify matters, might not be strictly recommended, but it does mean that inverter will get first pick of the solar current, which would be nice, although electrically that's much the same. But anyway, we'll work it all out. I've still got to clean this mess up as well. I might put a 12 volt and a 24 volt fuse box in here as well. I'm trying to keep the floor clear, mostly because if I get any moisture in here, it's going to tend to run to the floor and out the holes and past a drip loop. So yeah, otherwise we should be pretty good. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to go investigate. I think I hear my neighbours talking. I might want to go have a chat to them. Alright, next little decision. Bus bars. I've got one of these guys. The other one's going to come later. But do I put them in like this in two vertical positions? But I like to roll stuff. I like to store stuff in here, and I'm worried if a tin or something rolls and contacts them, I'm going to have a catastrophic event. However, if I do that, I'm going to have some problems. I'm going to have to run cables over the top of each other. Or I could just make some little insulated covers to cover these things up. I could stick positive way up the top, like way up above there, and stick a negative right down here. That might be the way to go. Or I could whack one way over the other side of the panel. Decisions. I think I'm going to take some time to think about that. And I'm yawning because I'm very tired and it's Boxing Day and I'm run down. So anyway, the plus side is there's a nice open hole here I can put stuff through as well. So now for you people who reckon I can mount bus bars up here, I'm not going to do that, because this is actually only just about a 4mm sheet of fiberglass here, and everything will go straight through it. On the sides there's double layer and a bit of insulation, so there's room to put screws through. But anyway, this is looking fairly organized actually. It's better than some things I've done. So yeah, we'll work on this one a bit later. I think I'm going to call it quits for the day. I'm a bit hot and sweaty, and between multiple sclerosis and after Christmas rundown, I'm not doing great. So I'll pack some junk back in the hole and we'll come back to it. Alright, well, it's now the next day, and I realized I have this temperature probe to install, but I remember unboxing this. One pin of the temperature probe socket was bent, so I'm going to have to pull that off the wall again, which means dragging all this out. So let's get all that out, let's get this off the wall, put this on my desk and see if we can straighten that pin. Well, we're inside at the desk. Let's take a look at this socket up close. I'm not sure if you can see. I'll find a light source, which apparently my apprentice has been here and stolen. One moment. Alright, light source located. Let's have a look up in here. Well, can we see those pins there? I'm not sure how well you can see. It's a tiny little viewfinder for me. But one pin is bent right up because they haven't actually used a socket. So I could probably reach in there with something and bend it back. That might be easier. But I can also probably open this thing up and do it properly. But I think I'm going to try the reach in method, or the reach around method, and try and get that in first. So let's find some appropriate tools. Alright, so I have a couple of tools to try here. I've got like a plastic removal tool, I've got a metal removal tool, and I've got some tweezers. Tweezers I'm going to try first, see if I can bend this back down in the correct angle. Well, actually it is coming down okay. Let's hang on here. Alright, almost there. Alright, I think that should be close enough. Let's see, you guys should be able to see two pins in there. Let's get a light source here and we'll see what we've got. Where's that angle? There we go. You should probably be able to see the two pins aligned there. That was actually a lot easier than I thought. Now let's just really gently drop our thermistor on those pins. You can see why it may not have, the plug itself might have been responsible for that. Going to probably try and install this here rather than in that box, and then we'll go from there. See if we can get this in properly. Well, that felt like it was starting to go in. I'm just being very gentle here because I don't want to risk bending that pin anymore, because they're usually steel and they tend not to like being bent too many times. Oh, it feels like that's gone on to both pins. Ah, you know, I see what's actually happened. This has been test fitted in the factory and that shroud has actually come off with the plug. That's what's happened. So yeah, we're really trying to, yeah. Yeah, when I've gone to install it again, the little shroud has come back. So that's what's happened. We'll use our little plastic tool to try and, oh, now I bent it right over backwards. Now I do have to open it. Alright, that's a pain. Well, I was almost there. Alright, now we've got to open it and fix it. Alright, the tedious bit of this. I'm not quite sure how this is all held together. A lot of these, when you undo the screws on the back, everything comes off the heatsink. So it's probably not really that necessary that I have the thermistor, but I am using AGM batteries, and it would certainly sort of help on the really cold, frosty mornings, which are the kind of days where I'll probably be camping, or the really insanely hot days, which, you know, we might be experiencing. Oh, there comes the front. Well, the front just leapt right off at me. Okay, so there appears to be a bunch of connectors in here. Some are glued on. Let's see if we can just carefully swing that aside. Oh, there's a little Wi-Fi module in here too. We can see that fairly well. There's our socket. Well, it hasn't come off, which is nice. And there's our plug in there. I'm thinking a drop of super glue might assist this whole process. Yeah. So let's firstly get our spudger in behind this, force it in. I'm sorry you're not getting a close-up, guys. It's because the GoPros really aren't great for close-ups. There we go. Alright, so the socket is properly positioned now, and I'm going to get a blob of super glue just underneath that, just to try and hold it in position a little better. Really reckon they should have used a different style of socket for this, but anyway, let's use something that's not my finger. We'll just wick a little bit of glue under that, just a drop, and we'll hold it down. The weather right now is quite humid, so I expect the super glue will set rather rapidly. Now we can actually have a look in here what this is. I'm not sure what this huge thing is. got a thermistor on it. It's a big heatsink of some kind. Well, that's attached to the heatsink, the whole back surface. That might be a giant transistor. Not sure what that is. This glue is going to take a while. We'll be back. Alright, the glue is going to take a while to set, so I figure that probably the more sensible approach here would be to attach this while I've got the lid off, given that I can reattach the lid without removing the socket, which is not always an option. It also means I can support the pins and the socket whilst I plug it in. And that appears to have gone in nicely. Alright, now the glue is not setting very well. I'm thinking I'm going to put a whack of hot glue on there. I just want to stabilize that because I can see that having some tension, flex over time in a vehicle and busting those pins off, and then overall undercharging my batteries as a result. So let's get this thing hot glued. I'll get my hot glue and my budget hot glue gun. You'll see that in a moment. Alright, budget hot glue gun time. Hot glue guns with the PTC heaters in them seem to always die. So this is what I ended up doing years ago, and it's just become commonplace ever since. Alright. Sorry about the crackly throat this morning, guys. Still recovering from Christmas, which was a couple of days ago. Alright. New off the shelf, but requires repair. Although I think that's what you call some assembly required. Anyway, that's probably enough of a blob of hot glue when that cools off to stop it from getting too much vibration in there. Anyway, that means we can use our temperature sensor. Now I'm curious, I actually, of all the things I've opened in the past, I don't recognize this thing. It doesn't have any labels on it. It's a big round thing that is, well, it's got some huge heavy cables, so it's obviously like a giant diode, and it's got a temperature sensor on it. What does that go into? E3 and D29, and that's right, so that might be how they regulate the currents. It might be a giant transistor. Yeah, I've got to do some homework into that bit. Some of you guys that are more experienced with the solar regulator side of things will probably have a good idea what that is. Although, that being said, I don't see any switching FETs in here, or maybe there's a couple on the other side under this, clamped onto the board, but that is designed to take one hell of a load of current. I guess it's going to take 30 amps, being as that's what this is rated for. So yeah, something interesting. Anyway, let's whack all this back on. Flip it over, put some screws in, because at this point we need it to work. Well, we don't really do it. It's a Sunday and nothing's open, so I know I still need to buy cable and connectors and engineer a mounting bracket for the solar panels, which are probably not going to happen for a few days. But that's why this is one of these long-running videos that you may or may not see, depending on how I cut it. Right, I'll get these screws back in and we'll get back to it. Right, well, I've come back out to run this thermistor back to the batteries, and I realized a fundamental problem. I need to get it through a hole, and this won't fit. That probably will. So I hope the hot glue's cooled off enough, because I'm going to have to pull that straight back out again. But luckily I did hot glue it in there, because I can probably get it back out again. I think. I don't know, we'll try. Alright, let's see how we go. Okay, so success, we got it out. It doesn't fit through any of these holes, and I'm a bit reluctant to drill a new hole. But what the plan in the future is to run everything off these two, instead of having and remove these two off the battery. So when I pull them out, I might thread my thermistor back through. But for now, I'll get cracking and put this thing back on the wall. Alright, she's back in position. So I'm still waiting on another bus bar. Again, I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. I don't know where I'm going to put them. I may have to put them there and then like 3D print a shield or something for them, at least for the hot wire anyway. So there's not much else I can do for the moment other than pack up a few things and wait till tomorrow till everything opens. And I have an air conditioner that's currently leaking water into its isolation switch on the side of the house too, so that needs tending to, although that one is probably going to get a licensed electrician to do that. As I don't really feel like playing around with mains, electricity and water today, and B, it's the landlord's responsibility, so he gets to pay somebody to fix it because it needs to be done right. Anyway, let's pack everything back in this box and we'll sit around and wait for some more cable. Alright, so I got sick of sitting on my hands waiting for tomorrow to come, so I decided I'm going to do something about this. On the other side of that is a little 2-pin banana plug that is used for inspection lights. The only problem is it's a Lucas type. I'd like it to work with these standard little 2-pin connectors that I've got. They're a lot more common and they don't cost 70 bucks a piece. So I'm going to go around the other side and unscrew that connector. You can see here, this is put in for auxiliary power. They're basically 2 flush banana plugs. So yeah, I'm going to replace that with a couple of screw terminal type ones at the correct spacing, largely because if I need to plug in anything or if I break a cable or something like that, it's just really handy to have that. So let's get that removed. Alright, we have the auxiliary power unit out. We change my airflow so it's not so noisy. And these weren't in very tight. Now they've used push connectors to connect to these things. Well, I probably will need a screwdriver for this. I've used these push type terminals on here. I'm probably going to end up replacing those. And I think I definitely need a screwdriver there. Let's check my collection. I think something along these lines should do. It's probably a smidgen small, but get these guys out. Right. Yeah, certainly not worth me paying the 70 or something bucks that eBay wants for them. This also gives us a chance to clean out some of the crap that's stuck in all the bloody crevices of everywhere in this vehicle. I'm going to need a pair of pliers here. Good old Leatherman to the rescue. Drop you into that little section there so we can get these guys off, and then we might give this a good wash and clean up before we put the new terminal into it. Yeah, this one's got dust and corrosion in the back. I'll get this off camera. We'll be back. Alright, now we have these out, and just a matter of interest, these actually use Teflon nuts on the back of here. So these guys, I'll put them up in the Perentie Owners Australia forum and see if I can see if anybody wants them. Now this has been just a 2-tone or 2-layer acrylic, but it looks like it's sandwiched. That's a Bakelite sandwich maybe with some white on black plastic. I'm not sure. Now crucially, the hole spacing is very close. These scrape along the edges, so shouldn't take a lot of modification to get these guys to fit, but I'm just going to drop these in just loosely and see if they work. So let's drop this guy out for a minute. That taper makes them really hard to pick up, so we'll do the same with this one. Oh, I undid the wrong side of that one. Alright, that one I've done up properly. Take these 2 screws off, or 2 nuts rather, off the thread. Drop this guy in here. We'll see. Oh, the angle a little bit. There's not too much modification necessary to make them do the job, so I may just enlarge the holes a step. It might be literally all I need to do, or just hand file them out a little bit. I mean, I could put a new plate over here, that would be fine, but I want to keep this one. So Alright, yeah, I think I'll go with the hand filing and see what I can do with that. We will be back. Okay, so I did a little bit of thinking and realised that if I don't put these little plastic shims in the back, which are not necessary being as it's not going through a conductive surface, there is just enough slack that I can actually put these in and actually connect it. So that will fit. There's a little bit of tension on there, but that's not necessarily a bad thing with these. So we can whack these guys on, and I think I need to put the washer on the top of them, but yeah, we've got ourselves some standard banana terminals in that socket without actually any real effort other than just replacing them. So yeah, that's kind of handy. I will leave it like that, and then I can just plug one of these guys in and be done with it. I'll just solder some terminals on the back. I think that'll do the job. And there should be 2 extra nuts floating around here. I only see one, but I'll find it and we'll be back. Okay, so we're back outside in the battery box. I'm going to chop and splice. So we're going to get rid of these push connectors, and I did check the polarity beforehand. Red most certainly is positive. And going to get a little bit off the end of these guys. And where are we here? Off that. Now I'm going to get my gas iron fired up. I've got the terminals gently screwed down here so I can solder. Then I'll remove them, put this in situ, and then screw them back on again. So I'll get my iron ready. Alright, well obviously we're back inside with the wires connected. It's not my best solder joins, but they work. And we'll see if we can actually get everything positioned back in place and get these screws back in. Can't do this one-handed, so I'm going to have to stop filming, but I'll show you the finished product. Alright, so we've got everything shut up. I've turned the 24-volt system on. I've got this little tester I made up. It's a bit rough, but it works for my purposes. Generally, if I plug it in backwards, it gives me a red light. If I plug it in the right way, it gives me a voltage readout and a green light, which we can probably see from here. It's coming out at about 13.7. So we have easy connection power and just a little 2-pin connector like this. That works well. Alright, I'm going to call it quits for this video. It's about to rain. I'm not crook, but you can hear from my nose that it's getting very humid right now. It's about to storm. It won't be very long before we see a whole heap of rain, and I need to get into here and sort out this junction too at some point because it leaks as well. But anyway, I'm going to go inside, call it quits, and we'll be back once some more cable shows up and I've got some more energy back. So see you all in the next one.